everybody. I have a bonus session here. So this is all about our upcoming fall 2020 knit-along, but from the perspective of the participants of our spring 2020 knit-along that wrapped up in August, actually the summer. It wrapped up in the summer. And I really wanted to share these stories because I think they show what's at the heart of these knit-alongs and how they can help us through this time in history, but also just in life, whatever things come our way. That was something that came up a lot, that some of the things that people were going through, it wasn't just pandemic related, it was other life stuff happening. So I want to share their stories. Some of them are a little bit longer, like 4 to 5 minutes, and some of them are really short, just a minute or two. And I encourage you to listen to them because they are so insightful and give a completely different perspective than what I've been sharing in these introduction videos. They show what our community is like, what it's like to wear that first sweater you knit, what it's like to tap into that community that I've been speaking about. And I hope you find it inspiring. So we're going to start with Kathy. She is someone that was new to knitting. She picked it up and she truly crushed it. So I'm super excited for you to hear her story.
I really, this kind of hit me out of nowhere. I mean, I was watching you on the Instagram webinar for Craft Industry Alliance, and I was kind of like, who's that? She looks kind of interesting. And I looked at your Instagram and I fell in love with the yarns and the patterns. And I just thought, oh, I really want to make some of those garments, but I didn't know how to knit. And then I watched some of your promotional videos about the knit along, and I saw that I wasn't too late for the second wave. And I just thought, oh, I want to do it. I really, and it sounded doable. You said that beginners could do it. And so, and I also thought, okay, well, it's expensive, but there's lessons, and that, so for the price of an expensive homemade or handmade sweater, I'm getting hand spun yarn, art yarn, and I'm getting the pattern, and I'm getting lessons, which are expensive. And then I'm also getting other patterns, and I'm getting other videos. This dog is still trying to get in here. And then support twice a week, and then a Facebook group. And so I thought, yeah, that's like very worth it. And then I also got like the accountability, which was huge, because then I was like, okay, I'm not going to quit because I've, told you guys that I'm going to do it.
And so in 5 weeks, I think you finished in five or 6 weeks. You finished.
Right. Because it came with, there was that guide that said, okay, week 2, you should be doing this. And now week 3. And so I used that to pace myself, because otherwise I wasn't sure, like, well, what should I be doing this week? And so that kind of like, I used it to keep myself accountable. I was like, week 3, okay, I better be doing this part. And so that guided me along as to like what to do that week and how to pace myself. And it was great. So yeah, and I accomplished it, and it felt really great. And then at the end, I was like, I need something else. I need another project. And so I already had that because of the knit along. I had all these other videos to do other projects. So I did this shawl,
oh my God,
which I love.
Yeah.
It came out so great. And then I bought more yarn, and I just am finishing up a pixelated cardi. It's not blocked and it's not fully finished yet, but it's almost done. I'm going to finish it this weekend. And then I'm going to do the daisy pillow. And then by the time that's done, it's going to be time for the fall knit along.
You truly, you didn't knit before, right?
No.
That's what's so crazy to me, because that pixelated sweater is color work. And it took me 8 years. I knit color work for the first time, I think in 2018, and I've been knitting forever, since I was maybe 19. So I love that your whole trajectory of how, I spent a long time being terrified of color work, and that you got to what took me 20 plus years, you got there in a matter of months. It's like, it just makes me so happy.
Because you spoon fed me. I mean, if somebody spoon feeds me like a child, I can do just about anything, it seems, because I'm not really good at physical stuff. I mean, I'm not, and these aren't maybe perfectly done, but I mean, I did it. And then I'm ready to do it again.
And one of the things I care a lot about in the community is that all people feel welcome no matter their skill set. Like, did you feel that? Or, I mean,
yes,
totally open to improving too. But I do feel like sometimes knitters you might not even know this if you're not, kind of steeped in the yarn store culture or whatever, that sometimes knitters can get a little high on their horse about stuff. And that's something I'm really actively trying to not have.
It was a very, very welcoming. And it's not like I had never been to a local yarn store, but I had investigated that, but it wasn't very welcoming. It wasn't very dynamic. And so it was easy to just sort of float out the door and not get involved. And so this was much more welcoming. I really enjoyed it. And it was a good way to talk to people during this time of isolation. And so I look forward to participating in the fall Knitalong and to continue, picking up new skills. And also you were talking about like creativity. So my mom passed away in the summer of 2019. And one of the things I got a lot of her old clothes, some we gave away, but my dad's like, take anything that you think you would possibly wear. And there was a lot of things where I was like, yes, I'll take this and this. And I'm like wearing her pajamas every night. But there was a lot of things where I was wearing these little, just like Land's End cardigans. And I thought, oh yeah, I've even got this cardigan. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like dressing like my 70-year-old mom. Like we had remarkably similar tastes. And I thought there's something about that kind of bothered me. I thought, and for years I've been trying to think like, what is my style and how can I just the evolution of my own style was still just not there. And knitting these fun sweaters is just a really fun way to be like, yes, like these are things that like I can speak through and express myself through. And when I was younger, I did do some creativity on garments and I liked that, and then I stopped for so long and I didn't like sewing and I tried different things. And this is a fun way where you're just like, look what I did, it's me, and it's funny too, because my mother would have been just like, she would have hated this. She would have been like, that crazy sweater.
My mom might not like ours, like mine either, and I just kind of go with it. But
she would have supported the idea, or she would have been like, you do you and good for you. But like, it's just very, it fits in with, again, it's just aligned with what I was processing in my own self in that way.
COVID like a good time to lean into that creative side of ourselves that wants to just express, because we're with ourselves. There's no hiding from ourselves, kind of.
Right.
So to explore that, I've always been really interested in self-inquiry, and to have that time to kind of go inside creatively and think, okay, what can I knit that's going to kind of take what's inside and what I feel like flows together with yarn and colors and textures and make it into something that feels like an expression of myself. I love that. And I guess what I love the most is that can be some kind of bright spot in this time when we all are living in a lot of, it's like kind of like low level anxiety of just what's going to happen next is, what's safe, when will life return to normal?
Yeah. And I had said to Karen Strom when she was asking about it too. I mean, a big thing was with this, I've been sober for like 23 years, but for some reason this epidemic has made me, for the first time in I don't know how many years, I've been like, maybe I should like start drinking wine, like it really rattled me and I just hadn't had those sort of thoughts in a really long time. And I thought, wow, like, okay, this is stressing me. And this just was such a great outlet once I started doing this, it was like, okay, it was just it just bumped my mental health hugely. And then when the sweater was over, I was like, uh-oh, going down again. And so next project, next project. And so
I love
can't
that.
tell you.
I love that so much, Kathy. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to that because I noticed the same sort of thing with me with some body image stuff in COVID because I couldn't do my normal workouts and stuff. I started to feel that same kind of thing where I was getting back into a lot of old thought patterns that weren't healthy at all. And this helps a lot. It's like my little life raft of
yes. Oh, it's funny that you say that because I've told somebody I'm like holding on to knitting like a drowning person. Sometimes, it's just
when people say like it's my guilty pleasure. I'm like, oh, I'm not guilty about this.
Right,
my healthy thing. So
yeah, I mean, we all need something to look forward to, and so I do look forward to like the next project, the next Knitalong, or I start looking forward to, okay, I'm going to do this sweater in this, or or when you start showing us the fall Knitalong sweaters, it's like, ooh, I want to do that one and this color, and so it does really provide a lot of joy and excitement. That because what else do we have to get excited about? Right now, not a lot.
So next up, I hopped on the phone with Liz, who actually lives in Delhi, India, which is pretty incredible. She did have some trouble getting her yarn, but managed to knit her very first sweater too, a kaleidoscope sweater. And I thought it would be fun to hear from her on how this helped her and what knitting in community means to her. So let's dive into this one.
The timing could not have been better because it was super stressful. We had to cancel our June wedding. Like everything happened.
Oh.
That was like the least of things. In fact, I owe Vanessa a giant apology. She went through so many emails with me to help me return some yarns that were wrong in my kit, and stuff happened here. We had to unexpectedly move, and then I lost a pet. That was just horrific for a month. And then she still helped me and everything was ready. And then my dad kept not sending it. And I kept like asking him. And then I found out he has a skin cancer diagnosis, which it's turning out okay. We're really, really lucky. But like Corona's the least of my worries these days. So,
but that's such a good point.
So
like life is, I think
it happens.
Yeah, life happens, and it's never like you're safe from.
And it snowballs, but it was just to have this project, which I'd never done a sweater before. And I mean, the videos have been invaluable because they're just so clear, and I didn't know what I was doing. Like I'm literally a knit and purler. That's it. I'd made scarves.
Amazing. So it was really your first sweater. Oh my God.
First sweater. Now I'm working my way through the diamond crop for the fourth time because I keep, I'm working through like not the right size yarn and not the right size needles. So I'm learning a lot as I go. But the best part for me has definitely been the Facebook group, because especially when I wasn't really making any progress because so many things were happening here, it was just so nice to have these little alerts in the morning and like see what other people were doing and feel inspired by the changes that they were making on their projects, especially people who had already used their kit and then were like diving into new combos and pairing up all kinds of stuff. And just I loved how supportive everyone was too. Everyone's commenting and encouraging each other. And it was just like this very supportive family group that needed absolutely nothing from me. I didn't have to participate if I didn't have the energy, but if I did, people would comment and like and chime in. But just to have it there was like just such a calming, nice thing.
Okay, so you're going to meet Trisha in this next little excerpt. And what the backstory is that on our celebration video Zoom call, she said some words that made me tear up. She teared up because they were so powerful, and it really cut to the heart of what we're trying to create here at Knit Collage in our community. And I asked her to do this call with me and riff on that a little bit more. So that's what we're going to get into right now.
When you spoke in our last call, it meant so much to me. You have no idea. Like I carry that with me.
Oh, I'm glad.
Because
it was a little embarrassing. I didn't mean to get so choked up, but I really meant it from my heart. And the observation is that, like, I've thought about it since then and how I would add to it. And I really think you meet people where everybody's meeting each other where we are. Like, I'm such a new knitter, and it was like nerve-wracking even to share that Tokyo shawl last night because I made a million mistakes. Like if someone looked at it and was like, "Oh, pretty crappy knitting," I don't care because I'm new and I love it. But everyone meets each other where they are with such joy and such acceptance that, like, literally the world could take a lesson from this. I mean it, and this is my thing.
Thank you so much. Like I mean, it's because I always feel that this business is so much more than just the yarn and the knitting.
Yes.
I really believe it has so many powerful things that come with it, like mindfulness and confidence, the creativity, all these things. And so when you said that, and I've had a couple conversations with other people through these Zoom calls, it's like, yeah, it's not just about the stuff. Like, that's part of it. It's fun to surround yourself with beautiful yarn and colors and everything, but that's not why I'm in business. Like, why?
No, but that's why it's such a success, because you didn't. I don't think your starting place was yarn. I think your starting place was creating.
Yeah.
It was the need to make. And you're not just like, the yarn is a way that gets people, it draws us in, right? The beauty of everything you make is what, like literally when Stephanie sent me the photo of the kaleidoscope sweater, and there's the bell, I'm going to get in trouble. So when she sent me the picture, we were like on the phone in a split second going, "Oh my God, I have to make that." Like, it was a dream. I never actually thought I could ever have that sweater. And by the way, I wore it for the first time on Wednesday night. And I was like, I feel like I cannot tell you how many people stopped me and asked me about this sweater. And I was like, well, actually, I made it. Like, I had to say I made it. But it was such a good feeling, and I just loved it. It was so comfortable. I felt like $1 million. And the good it did my heart to, like, you taught me in doing that sweater and the experience of doing that sweater. Like, when you said, well, you just kind of pick and change, and like this openness, this open-endedness, that is not often found in life, where you're given this open-ended, it's up to you, and there's really no wrong answer. And if you don't like it, you rip it out. Like, oh my God, if kids could just hear that and experience that and watch their parents go through that. There's so much grounding goodness.
Thank you so much, Trisha. You have like no idea how much it means to just hear it from you.
Okay, so in this video, little snippet, I am going to talk to Erica, and I'm excited for you to hear from her and hear what she has to say about creative community. I think that's super powerful and cannot be underestimated just how important it is. If you've got that creative bone in your body, this is incredibly important, to be surrounded by other people that want to cheer you on and are into the same kinds of things that you are. So let's dive in.
I have been a creative pretty much forever. I went to art school. I have a degree in jewelry and metalsmithing and a minoring in print and art history. So, but I'm sure, as you know, going to like a school where you're producing, like you're producing bodies of work, and not just in one major, all the majors. So after I graduated, I just stopped creating completely. And I lost my community, right? Because when you're a printmaker and a jeweler, you have that community of craft, right, around you.
Yeah.
And being in that knitting group and the community, it kind of brought the spark back into my life. So I have my community back. I have a tactile project to work on. And it kind of is bringing me back to my community of being back in school. So it kind of gives you that kind of home feeling.
Okay, so this interview is very dear to my heart because Marge has been doing our Knitalong since the very first one. I think this was 2015. I'm not even sure. I think it was 2015. And it's just incredible because at that point in time, it was an early first draft, I would say, of what we have finessed it into now. And I'm so happy that she's stuck around and has the perspective of being with us for that long. And I just can't wait for you to hear from what she talks about as the no judgment free zone. That's what she says. I love that. So let's hear from her now.
First of all, it's your whole background too. When I found out that you were related to this whole community of women in India, that was it. I said, I need to support this person because he's supporting this larger community of women, of creators. And I love, first of all, and then the yarn, the fact that I love when I get your product, I touch it. And I know that it's been touched by these women that over there, part of this creative process. So I feel like, I know this sounds really crazy, but part of this really larger community of people. And I love that it's we have a gym around here. I don't know, you have Planet Fitness?
Yeah, I think so.
But you're the judgment-free zone. Everybody, it's judgment-free. It's creative. Like, hey, this is great, beautiful, funky, like coming from the 70s, like where I grew up. Like, hey, I'm getting some of this like funk back, It's like,
yeah.
Creativity. So I love that. And I love that it's so inclusive. It's completely inclusive, supportive community. And when you added all those elements, like from the beginning, now there's the Facebook page, there's Instagram. It's great. I love it. I love the progression.
That's so awesome. So I can't believe it. So this might be like your fifth year doing an album or something like that. Like, that's insane.
Okay, so I want to share Tracy's story here with you today. She called in from New Orleans, so she talks a little bit about Katrina and what that was like. She talks about finishing her first sweater. She talks about the community, and there's just a lot there to be inspired by. Can't wait for you to hear it.
When this all started, it was crazy, right, for everybody. And it was really the uncertainty. That's I think the largest thing that it was for me. I don't do well with ambiguity, and this felt very ambiguous and unknown. And I had a couple of friends that in the beginning, it kind of felt like PTSD for Hurricane Katrina. Like, I remembered so distinctly what it was like to be outside of New Orleans. I'm from Wisconsin, and so I was back home at my parents' home watching everything unfold on TV, and I just couldn't take myself away, and I didn't know what had happened to my home or my friends. It's where I learned to text, right? It's a big joke in New Orleans that everyone learned to text during when Hurricane Katrina evacuation. And so in the very beginning of COVID, it felt a lot like that. Like, it just, what was happening, like not in my lifetime kind of a thing. And this time around, I have a precious little, well, now he's 7, but at the time he was 6. And so how do I not only manage things for my life, but for him too? And so this Knitalong, it was the first Knitalong I'd ever participated in. And it was like, you have set the bar so high, I don't know that I could ever do another one. I am a patron for Christy Glass Knits, and I've discovered so much in the knitting community and world through her. And so found you that way, and was just too late to join in on the, fall Knitalong last time. So I was like, so I knew I was going to jump on it this time, and it couldn't have come at a more perfect time. And I think the way that you design and build and support your Knitalongs is, it's the only one I've done, but I would have to say it's pretty unique. Not only do you have these amazing designs, you gave us all of the patterns. Your team is fantastic, but you supported us like mentally, spiritually, as well. So this knitting was just such a welcome respite and break from the craziness of everything that was going on in our lives. And that first Zoom, it was something to look forward to too. Like I just couldn't wait for my yarn to come and to unbox it and just to look at it. It's so beautiful. I mean, you could see I have my shelves displayed behind me. I'm very like visual and I just love to look at it all. It's so pretty. And when I get back there in the corner, there's like 1, 2, 3 other kits.
I mean, I'm the same way. It just brings me joy having my yarn. It brings me joy near me.
Yes, I love fabrics. I'm a collector of the things. Sometimes I'm not so much a doer of the things. I'm a collector of the things. And so that was the other thing that was really helpful about the Knitalong is that it set up sort of checkpoints throughout the Knitalong to kind of keep moving. And so the initial Zoom was so great. I met lots of new friends. Those breakout groups were phenomenal. And so the first breakout group that I got assigned in, we wrote down phone numbers and exchanged, and we keep in touch. You know, we stayed connected throughout the Knitalong, and then I was on another knit group meeting and we did the same thing, and I got a whole nother new group of friends. So I love my knitting friends. It's such a warm and supportive environment, and you help provide that for us. And so I'm grateful for that. But this was the first sweater, the first kit that I got, and it's not quite done.
Oh my God. So Tracy, are you a big sweater knitter? Are you super experienced? Do you look super experienced?
Sweater number 1, sweater number 2. Like,
oh my God. No, you're not, that can't be true. Really?
I knit one sweater for my nephew last year because it would, like, who cared if it fit or not? I didn't even do it.
God.
Like, it's going to work.
Yeah. So did you learn some new techniques along the way in this one? Like
so much. I learned so much. And
yeah, I just love that because I think when you learn a new technique, you can take that and apply that to any pattern that you encounter in your future. It's not just like it has to be this pattern and this yarn. You can absolutely take that and apply it to all these other things in knitting.
I feel like it was such a confidence boost. Like, look what I did. Look what I made. I mean, like these designs are like, oh my Lord, like so beautiful. And I made what you made. I mean, I did it. Yeah. And so this was the first one, and I can't remember, I know what happened. I didn't have the right needles. I mean, I had the right needles, but my cord was real thick, and I kept on having to rip out because I couldn't, even with magic loop, I felt like I had to be an octopus holding it. But I got on one of your Zoom sessions, and you and Cheryl were so kind, and you talked me through it and offered me advice, and I ordered new needles from you, and it changed everything. And, I ripped this out so many times, which normally would be like, oh my God, except every single time it was such a joy to redo because it goes really fast. And this but for me, this kaleidoscope was so creative because every time I just kind of like was inspired by, I let the yarn speak to me as I went along. I let it speak to me. And I loved watching on Facebook everyone's projects and how they all had such unique personalities. They were the same design, but every single one so unique, and every single one so beautiful. There wasn't one that wasn't like beautiful.
So those are all the interviews. Like I said, there were a lot more. I wanted to include them all, but hopefully you got a good little view of what our Knitalongs are like and what they mean to the participants that join them. I hope you'll consider joining us this fall. I can't wait to get it started. All right, have an awesome day.